It goes without saying that the study of cosmology is genuinely perplexing in the field of science. Given the size of the cosmos, humans are unable to fully comprehend the scope of what exists in deep space. From physicists to scientists to the everyday space nerd, everyone seems to have a different hypothesis for why the universe is so extremely flexible in space. Some of the things that have emerged are simulation theory and the big splat, and these. Welcome to KYC News. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. In this video, we'll examine some of the universe's most ludicrously absurd theories. In addition to being a well-known left-wing political theorist, was a very interesting cosmological theorist who was well recognized for being somewhat weird. Explain why the planets continue to revolve around the sun, and beware, gravity is not the cause. He genuinely believed that what kept these planets so close was love and passion. Charles suggested that the moons, stars, and planets could all be thought of as living creatures, have senses similar to ours, including sight, touch, and taste, all of which appear to be intensely passionate, and he even asserted that the eclipses were truly brought on by the sun and moon falling in love with one another. He stated that they even reproduce like animals in a romantic embrace of the moon. If the planets' piles were actually their genitalia, the north would be the male and the south would be each planet's female genitalia has a scent that they would release in order to, he says, that this perfume would be what would cause the other planets and stars to draw themselves to them. The satellites to orbit their parent planet like weeping puppies, and the planet to orbit around the sun. Obviously, the idea is not widely accepted in the field of cosmology because it's too strange even for space, but it offers a unique perspective on how to comprehend the solar system. Most of the hypotheses about the world and space that you hear are based on fantastic scientists, physicists, or even astronomers, but this one comes straight from a philosopher. Who said that philosophers couldn't have their own theories? There is a notion that contends that everything in our universe may not be as it first appears. The well-known Oxford University philosopher Nick Bostrom is credited with developing the concept of simulation theory. In his paper titled, appropriately enough, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?, Bostrom suggested that they might be computer-generated characters living in a simulation, in which case they would most likely alter perceptions of reality when needed rather than constantly simulating it, similar to how a computer game is designed to render only the bits of a scene that the player can see. Hollywood jumped on this concept and investigated the subject further in films like The Matrix. The provocative question that The Matrix series poses is what will stick with viewers the most. Reality as it really is. What if everything we encounter in life is just a simulation? Despite the theory's seeming absurdity, it is actually fairly popular, and unlike the scientific community, which takes the idea very seriously, many philosophers not agree with this explanation, and unless a rigorous scientific theory test can be conducted, it will remain untested. Science fiction's domain. I'm curious what Keanu would think of the movie We Have a City to Burn. Hans Urbiger, an outlaw Austrian astronomer, made a highly intriguing claim in 1913. He was not a believer in stars, believing instead that the Milky Way is entirely composed of ice. And he claims that a number of enormous planet-sized ice chunks that are simply orbiting our solar system in an impenetrable white ring as they float through space. Beyond this white ring, the few suns that do exist beam their light through this frozen wall. He thought that what gave us was the enormous ice crystals, which caused the light to reflect off them. He was actually extremely vehement about his belief that the illusion of what we perceive as bright stars in the sky, even after seeing images of the Milky Way from different experts, but when mathematical difficulties were raised, he responded rather simply by saying that everything was a hoax. When it came to his idea, he essentially shot it down and even called mathematics a bunch of bullshit. His theory, which he dubbed the world of ice theory, proposed that at some point in the past, the galaxy contained a super sun that was orbited by a massive ice planet, ultimately melting as it sped out chunks of rock and fire as the planet plunged into the super sun. This, eventually, formed what are now known as the planets in our solar system. Of course, there is a ton of evidence that readily refutes this theory. However, back then you'd be surprised that many people, including none other than Adolf Hitler, actually held his theory to be true. You may remember the unsettling image taken from the surface of Mars that appeared to show the initial photograph of the group of human-like faces was taken on the planet by NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft. Orbiter and monochrome. Naturally, some people back in 1976 leaped to the conclusion that who else would leave those face-like craters on the red planet, after all? There is a well-known idea that emerged following the release that explains imprints on the surface in that manner. Of this image that aliens do in fact exist and are always looking for new methods to leave proof and evidence of their presence, but humans haven't yet been alert enough to see it. People started referring to the image as the face on Mars since it strikingly resembles a face from that perspective. Richard Hoagland, a conspiracy theorist, went so far as to claim that it was most likely a face. The image of the area known as Cydonia served as the evidence that everyone required. He hypothesized that there must be life elsewhere in the universe than our planet. A long-ago society that settled on Mars, of which the face was but a remnant. While mankind is still exploring for new livable areas outside of Earth, the alien metropolis on Cydonia, the best possibility being Mars, it appears that the aliens were far more advanced than humans were. Sadly, when NASA published colored photographs that proved this notion to be false, demonstrated that the faces were nothing more than an illusion produced by tiny hills, but many people disagree. Among the claims made by Hoagland is that NASA altered the photographs and doesn't want us to know the truth. Do you recall how, in The Three Bears, Goldilocks discovered the bowl of wonderful porridge? After eating the 3 bowls of porridge, it was the perfect temperature for her, neither too hot nor too cold. There is a belief that the universe was named after it in the same way as Goldilocks was. Some might say that Earth is the planet that looks to be ideal for supporting life. That there are other strong contenders, such as Mars, Jupiter's moons, or even Venus. However, nothing compares to planet Earth in terms of temperature, geography, and atmosphere. The sun's distance from the Earth and the availability of water are both ideal, or as Goldilocks could say, just right. The anthropic principle is what scientists describe to as this. However, in his book, Paul Davies calls this is known as the Goldilocks enigma, and it highlights the fact that all the physical rules that control science just cannot explain how the conditions in the universe are ideal for the emergence of life. Those stating that this is where religion and God come in seem to explain one of the reasons given for why there is intelligent design is that is an advanced intelligence that decided to create the universe in its current state. According to a new idea, space-time is essentially a superfluid substance that is always flowing. They claim that when there is no friction, space-time can be interpreted as a superfluid made of particles would go through the fundamental objects described above, but which we have not yet been able to detect. Space-time would behave similarly to ocean waves, with the rules of fluid mechanics acting similarly to waves. Move through a medium, they gradually start to lose energy, which in accordance with this hypothesis, if photons moved across this incredibly fluid environment, this is what would occur. A nice illustration would be a Crab Nebula, the supernova remnant, located 6,500 light-years away from the planet. When the light from its high-energy X-ray and gamma-ray emissions reaches our telescopes, due to space liquid time's characteristics, the energy should have evaporated, yet thus far, although no such effect has been observed, if space-time is shown to be truly flexible, then even if the theory is improbable, it would be a very unique liquid if it were to be discovered to be it is real that space-time is a superfluid where photons disperse at different speeds and with varied energy. It may eventually imply that relativity does not apply in every circumstance, and we can only speculate on the space-time superfluid hypothesis has theoretical physicists completely out of control right now. Doesn't have many supporters, but Einstein didn't have many at first either. According to certain reports, a massive unidentified planet may be present in our solar system. Even if the existence of the planet has not been verified by scientists, some people nonetheless adhere that our solar system has a mysterious planet with a massive orbit and such a strong magnetic field. Does it strike you as a little suspicious that the Earth's magnetic pull can and will have an impact on life there? Those who think it exists are using irregular weather patterns and seismic activity as evidence. They have even asserted that the Planet X influence is causing the global economic getting ready for a pole shift that could bring on another ice age or massive earthquakes. Many proponents of the thesis assert that different government agencies are aware of observatories are being compelled to keep a careful eye on the Earth because of it. They will only provide information about it when they believe it to be an inescapable threat in order to avoid panic. Astronomers quickly refuted this claim, stating that if there were a supergiant planet that is hidden, even amateur astronomers and scientists would find it impossible for it to stay a secret. Today's stargazers are using their telescopes to make some fascinating discoveries, and there was nothing that could have kept them silent if they had discovered a massive anomaly like Planet X. Despite the fact that Saturn has a large number of satellites, one of its more notable moons, Lepidus, located at the core of a very interesting theory. Lepidus is frequently contrasted with the infamous Death Star. Looks like the notorious Death Star from the film Star Wars, which is why it has a Star Wars-like ring to name. A big crater on it that resembles the fictitious weapons franchise lens with a hyper laser focus. The planet-killing Death Star has the power to wipe out whole planets, with its folks can't help but use their imaginations when faced with a powerful laser. In fact, a piece of writing that claimed Lepidus isn't even a moon but rather a huge, articulated alien creation. The image captured in 2004 by NASA's Cassini probe, a line around the satellite's equator, can be seen in the image that was used as support for the story. That is similar to the equatorial trench surrounding the Death Star in the mythical One. Battle stations have very amazing engines, thrusters, and docking bays. However, that's not the case for Pluto's moon. So much for aliens. The line is actually formed of regular old rock and ice. Equipment and weapons. Cassini has completed many moon flybys without being hit by any lasers. Therefore, despite the fact that it would have been a good theory, it is safe to state that it is a little far-fetched. The globe will one day become entirely dark and a vast expanse of, well, nothing. First look like a pretty gloomy concept. However, in the cosmos, where it appears as though the end is near, according to one belief, everything in the cosmos is merely at the beginning of a new. When the planet becomes empty and dark, it will give birth to a completely new cycle in one great repetition. According to this hypothesis, which connects to the brain world theory, this is what happens when two empty, frigid brains encounter. They eventually become bound if given enough time. Neil Turek and Paul Steinhardt, cosmologists, think that such a collision will eventually do it. Will produce an enormous amount of energy, sufficient to start a brand new universe. This is known as the epirotic theory, which was formerly known as the Great Splat. By Michael Kaku, a physicist. If this notion is accurate, it is unknown when it might occur. Let's embrace all the wonders, whether they are a cosmic love affair or an intelligently created simulation of the universe as it is. So tell us about the wackiest cosmic hypothesis you've ever heard. Please share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. In actuality, nominal for more content similar to this. Thanks for watching, and see you later.